Hey there. In this video we're looking at finding stationary points for learning intention 15, and I'm going to do a quick sketch on the side here to remind you what a stationary point is. So it's where the gradient of the curve is 0. That's when we say the curve is stationary. So if I have a curve that looks like this, it might have a stationary point there. And that's because if I draw the tangent line there, you can see that that tangent line has a gradient 0. So that's a stationary point. If you need to make a note of that, please do. If you remember it from last year, don't bother. So I have a worded problem here, and they've given us an equation. So in this part, I'm going to do one where they give you the equation. In the second part, we're going to do one where you have to make the equation yourself. So the profit per week of a small manufacturing company is related to the number of workers N. So N is the number of workers, P is the profit. And it's asking us to find the number of workers needed for maximum profit per week. Okay, well, we know it's P dollars per week, so we don't have to worry about the week part, but we know that maximum means find a derivative and find the stationary point. If you ever see maximum or minimum, you know the steps are find the derivative, find the stationary point. Let's do those steps. So we see the word maximum, first thing we do is find the derivative. So we find the derivative. Well, the derivative of that function is going to be dp dn, dp dn, the derivative of p with respect to n, and that's going to be negative 3 on 2 n squared plus 96. Great, we found the derivative. Now we need to find when this is stationary, and to do that we set the derivative equal to 0, because when the derivative is 0, we know we have a stationary point. So we set the derivative equal to 0, so we get negative 3 on 2 n squared plus 96. Then we minus 96 from both sides. Okay, we can cancel the negative signs. Now there are a couple of ways to do this. I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So 96 divided by 3 is 32. Equals a half n squared, and let me just check that that's right. Yes, it is. And then I'm going to times both sides by 2. 64 equals n squared. Beautiful. N equals plus minus 8. Alright, plus minus 8, but we're talking about number of workers. Can we have minus 8 workers? No, not in this context, so we reject the negative root. So we say reject negative reject negative root, since you cannot have negative workers. Or you could have negative workers, but you can't have a negative number of workers. So we say n equals 8. Alright, so that's the number of workers needed for a stationary point. We need to check if it's maximum though. The question hasn't asked us to do that explicitly, but I'm going to do it as an exercise. So let's check that that's a maximum. So let's do the check, and remember that's with the table. So you do a table where we evaluate the derivative for a bunch of different numbers. So we might try, so n equals 8, we might look to the left and look to the right. And we work out what the derivative is. Well, dp dn when n equals 8 we know is 0. Let's sub in 7. Let's see. 7 squared is 49. Oh wow, that's quite tricky. I'm going to have to do it over here. I'm going to do it on a bit of paper. So 7 squared is 49. And then do this yourself, make sure I get it right. That's negative, well, 49 times 3 is 150. Well, that's 3 times 50, so that's going to be 147 on 2 plus 96. So 147 on 2, let's call it roughly 70 or 80. Yep, I can confirm that this part's going to have a positive gradient. So that's going to be positive. You can confirm that using your own approximations. Subbing in 9, well, 9 squared is 81. 1.5 times 81 is about 140, so you got negative 140 plus 96. So you know that that part is going to be negative. So we can draw the slope or the gradient, and we can confirm that, yeah, it's a maximum. So I've confirmed that. The question hasn't asked us, but I've done the check there to remind you how to do it. Alright, so the number of workers needed for maximum profit is 8. But what is the maximum profit? Well, we sub it back into our original function. So P of 8 equals negative a half, 8 cubed, plus 96 times 8 plus 600. Alright, tricky. They're asking us to do this without a calculator. Yeah, they can ask you to do that. I'm going to wipe this part, so please pause the video if you want to copy any of that down, because it's gone. It's disappeared. Alright, so let's evaluate this. 8 cubed. Well, 8 squared is 64. So 8 times 64 is 480 plus 32, which is 512. Is that right? Yep, that's right. 96 times 8. Please use pen and paper methods if you're not sure. Well, that's going to be, well, 100 times 8 is 800. 8 fours are 32, so what's 800 minus 32? So that's 768 plus 600. Alright, remember it's non-calculator. You've got to be good at your number skills. Half of 512 is 256 plus 768 plus 600. Alright, I'm going to continue working up here. I'm going to add 768, which is 1368 minus 256, and that equals, I'm gonna do it over here. That's 2, that's 1, that's 1, that's 1. So we have $2 is the maximum profit per week. Let me check my working. Another way to think of this is 8 is 2 cubed, and 2 to the power of 9 is 512. Let's do this a different way. 90 times 8 is 720, plus 48 is 768, so I'm confident with this part. That is 1368, yep, and that is negative 256. So check your answer as many times as you can. That's the maximum profit per week. Don't be ashamed to do anything like this. If you need to do some column addition or some multiplication or whatever, go for it, get good at it. And if you have been, thank you for watching.